Alexa's private office sat above Maison Elementaire, a space carved out with sharp lines and quiet luxury. The scent of frankincense clung to the air, mixing with the faintest trace of her signature rose and peppercorn perfume.
Even Bianca brought her kids to that thing yesterday. People felt it. That impresses me more than the drumming.
It was a spectacle, a show for tourists and gossips. She's good at that, pulling people into belief.
You saying it wasn't real?
I'm saying it doesn't matter if it was real. People felt it. That's what makes it dangerous.
Fernando said it reminded him of Sabina's fire days. That man never says anything unless it matters.
Sabina's name is currency in this town, and Celeste is spending it well. They sat in a tense silence, considering the implications. It was Tavo who broke the silence.
I can get you some new pieces. Stuff that leans more toward your brand. Not just the Alegua heads and Dia de los Muertos candles. I've got a guy in Veracruz now. He makes work that hums. Clean. Potent.
And what do you want in return?
Not much. Just a corner of your storefront. My own display. Branding. A cut.
That's a steep price for imported trinkets.
You want to keep up with Celeste? You're going to need more than herb baths and fancy oils. You want edge? I've got edge.
Fine. 1 month. Prove it sells. If it does, we renegotiate.
Deal. You know she's watching you now, right? Matching your tone, matching your grace, matching your fake sisterhood. That girl's not dumb.
Neither am I. As the door closed behind him, Alexa leaned back in her chair, eyes drifting to the corner of the room where an altar sat in shadow. A faint flicker of candlelight caught the edge of a mask, something not voodoo, not palo, but older, hungering. Keep your enemies closer, Alexa thought. Across town, Celeste lit her own candle. She wasn't fooled by Alexa's visit. The trap was there, set and waiting. But she'd walk the line anyway, eyes open, spirit ready. Mr. Lem sat in his worn recliner, a thin blanket pulled over his knees despite the summer heat seeping through the windows of his Hollygrove home. The oxygen machine clicked and hummed beside him, steady and soft. His face, though pale and drawn, still held the weight of knowing, an old man's gaze not dulled by pain, but sharpened by it. Celeste and Tante Vivienne entered quietly, the smell of herbs and Florida water clinging to their clothes. Tante Vivienne gave Mr. Lem a long look, 1 part scolding, 2 parts love, and went into the kitchen to prepare the herbal bath she prayed would help his strength return. Celeste sat down beside him.
You shouldn't have done it alone.
Didn't have much of a choice. That thing she's working with, it ain't new. It's old and greedy. I needed to see it for myself, knew it would take a toll.
Did you see it clearly?
Clear enough. Women like her don't walk alone. Something's riding her. Been riding her a long time. It drains, but it gives her just enough shine to fool the people who want to be fooled.
Can it be banished?
Banished? Maybe, but not without sacrifice. This thing, this spirit, has roots, deep ones. And it ain't just her. There are others watching, waiting. That ritual you did, it woke up the old ones. Got folks talking, even the ones who don't believe. You're not just a shopkeeper anymore. You're a beacon, and beacons draw moths, and worse.
Mr. Lem closed his eyes for a moment and then opened them with an intense focus on Celeste.
You're gonna need allies, real ones. Folks who remember how to fight spiritual wars, not just post pretty altar pics on the internet.
You mean the old guard?
I mean the ones who bled for this work. You got power, Celeste, but you still have too much mercy in your heart.
And that's wrong?
Not wrong, but it's dangerous. Too much mercy lets evil grow bold. Bring that cane here.
Celeste reached for the cane and laid it across Mr. Lem's lap. He took her hand again, this time gripping it more firmly. The air changed, thickened. Time seemed to pause between one breath and the next. Mr. Lem looked into her eyes, and for a moment it was like standing in a storm of memory and power. His voice dropped into the low register he used when calling on spirits, and he began to speak, not an explanation, more like an incantation. He recited a sequence of names, ingredients, and steps. He told her how to strike the floor with the cane to break a crossing spell, how to draw the veve of Ogu with the butt of the cane when strength alone wasn't enough. He told her how to bless it, and how to charge it with thunder. His voice seeped into her, not just her ears, but her skin, her bones. Celeste blinked, Her mouth parted, but she didn't interrupt. Her mind might not retain every detail, but her spirit drank in the lesson like rain to cracked earth. When he released her hand, she sat back, dazed but calm.
You won't remember it all right now, but when it's time, it'll be there.
In the kitchen, the clinking of glass and the scent of rue brought the world back into motion. Tante Vivienne returned, a steaming bowl in her hands. She set it on a nearby table and began to mix herbs into the water, murmuring prayers under her breath. She brought a cloth soaked in the herbal water and began wiping down Mr. Lem's arms. He exhaled, relief softening his features.
You ready for what's coming?
Yes, I think I am.
Good, because this ain't over, it's just beginning.
That night, the dream came like a tide at high moon, pulling Celeste under before she could resist. She stood in a forest soaked with shadow. The trees were tall and thin, their bare branches clawing at the sky. In the distance, drums beat low and slow, like a heartbeat too weary to race. A flicker of gold light shimmered ahead, and she moved toward it. The clearing revealed Alexa, dressed in white lace, standing before an altar carved into a rotting tree stump. Her eyes shimmered with something not entirely human, and her smile was warm yet insincere. A ring of candles burned blue at her feet. "I knew you'd come." Celeste tried to move, to speak, but her limbs resisted. Her feet were already in the circle. Her hands held nothing. Her mouth wouldn't open. Alexa stepped aside to reveal a shadow with eyes that burned. The thing stood behind the altar, its form flickering between a horned beast and a man wearing a crown of teeth. It held out a hand to Alexa, who offered Celeste with a slight hand gesture. Celeste fell backward, the drums pounding louder, faster, until they drowned out everything. She woke with a cry, her body damp with sweat, the sheets tangled around her legs like vines. The scent of smoke and myrrh lingered in the air. Tante Vivienne arrived 15 minutes later, dressed in black linen.
You dreamt it, didn't you? It wasn't just a dream, it was a warning. She's planning something big, but her time is running out. If she doesn't feed that thing soon, it will take her. We need to get ready, come.
They moved through the quiet house as the sun broke over the rooftops, casting a honey-colored light through the kitchen window. Tante Vivienne laid out the items without a word. Black salt, crushed brick, white candles, a mirror polished with basil and bay, and a bundle of dried herbs tied with red thread.
We build the wall first, then the weapons.
Celeste crushed the herbs in a stone mortar, while her aunt recited prayers to the spirits of the dead who had always protected their bloodline. They drew veves beneath the welcome mats on the front and back porches, layered salt beneath the thresholds, and prepared the powders to burn. Celeste moved with quiet focus, but her mind reeled with images of the shadow behind Alexa and of her own power rising. When the preparations were complete, they stood side by side.
She thinks you're still a girl fresh out of your initiatory bath? Let her think it. She won't be alone. Neither will I.
The mirror shimmered slightly as if something on the other side had just opened its eyes. Outside, the cardinals called to one another happily, and inside the air bristled with unseen motion. The spirits were listening. The invitation came in the form of a single white envelope slid under the apothecary door. Heavy cream paper. Celeste opened it slowly, careful not to tear the crisp fold. Inside, a handwritten note in looping script. "Dinner? I think it's time we cleared the air. You choose the place." It wasn't signed, but she didn't need a signature. Celeste stared at the card a long moment, the weight of it colder than it should have been. Tante Vivienne, reading her expression, asked nothing, just waited. Celeste folded the card, tucked it beneath a jar of ground cloves.
She wants peace, so she says.
Tante Vivienne raised an eyebrow.
I'll tell her she can come here, tonight.
The shop was candle-lit and calm, the floor swept, the altar redressed in white cloth and sweetgrass. A bowl of black beans sat at the doorway, salt ringed around it. The spirits had been fed. Celeste wore a simple blue dress, the hem brushing her ankles, her hair wrapped in indigo cloth. She stood barefoot before the altar, eyes closed, murmuring soft petitions to those who walked with her, not pleading, preparing. Then, a knock. She opened the door. Alexa stepped through like she owned the air around her. A silk suit the color of bone hugged her tall frame, and her lips were lacquered red, as if she'd come for blood. She held out a bottle of wine, its gold wrapping glistening. Celeste didn't move to take it. "Well, you've done well for yourself."
You didn't come here to talk about my decorating skills.
"Of course not. Still talking to the old ones?" Celeste didn't answer. The room tightened. Celeste gestured to the table where 2 chairs had been pulled close. Between them sat a bowl of water and a lit candle. "What is this?"
An offering for truth. If we're going to talk, the spirits get the first word.
Alexa sat slowly. Her hands were too still, her smile too deliberate. Words curled between them like smoke, sweet-sounding threats, polite jabs, rehearsed concern. But when Alexa reached across the table and her fingertips brushed the bowl's edge, the candle exploded in a burst of blue flame, throwing dancing shadows across the walls. The water turned black. A sigil, sharp, jagged, and wrong, appeared at the bottom of the bowl. Celeste recognized it. Alexa was summoning something. "I didn't come here alone." From the far end of the shop, the shadows twisted, pulling in like a vortex. The floorboards groaned. The flame above the altar thinned into a cold white spike. And then it came. A beast, half-formed from smoke and ash and something older, dragged itself through the threshold of the visible, all bones and claws and mouth. Its eyes were twin pits of rotting flame. It lunged, but Celeste didn't move.
Rete agdefan muen.
Wind spiraled outward in a gust that blasted the blinds open. The beast paused mid-leap, frozen. A circle of glowing sigils burned into the floor beneath it. The flames of the altar candles leapt. From the shadows behind Celeste, they stepped forward. An old woman in a white tignon, face lined and beautiful. A young soldier in union blue. A midwife. A root worker. A preacher. A child with a bell. The ancestors. They did not shout. They glared. The beast writhed, but it couldn't move. The ancestors raised their hands, not in violence, but in refusal. The creature began to dissolve, howling not from pain, but from rejection. The summoning sigil in the bowl cracked down the middle. Alexa stood, reeling, mouth parted. "That's not possible."
You came here and tried to call something that doesn't belong. You don't want peace. You want permission to take, to twist, to build your empire on the ancestors' bones. But you left your offerings at the wrong crossroads.
Alexa backed toward the door, eyes flicking left, then right. The door behind her creaked open of its own accord. Wind whipped into the room, but no leaves followed.
Good night, Alexa.
Alexa turned and fled. Celeste returned to the altar. One by one, the ancestors faded and the candlelight steadied. She refilled the bowl with clear water, lit a new incense stick, and whispered her thanks in 3 languages. Outside, New Orleans slept. Inside, Sabina's apothecary glowed faintly, a hearth of magic holding firm in a city where shadows moved and power waited to be claimed. And at the crossroads between mercy and might, Celeste Boudreaux stood fully in her name. Back in the French Quarter, the silk suit now hung limp over the back of a velvet chair. Alexa stood barefoot in her private sanctum above Maison Elementaire, the floor cool beneath her feet, her body still taut with the humiliation she hadn't let show. She stared into the flickering altar flame, jaw clenched so tight her temples ached. The room was candlelit, thick with scent. Damiana, rose, burnt cedar. Masks lined the back wall, their painted eyes half-closed in judgment. In the center of her altar stood a carved figure, hunched and faceless, draped in purple and black cloth. The bowl at its feet had gone dry. Alexa struck a match and lit fresh incense, but the smoke didn't curl toward the light. It drifted downward, as if pulled. "I did everything you asked." No response. Only the crackle of resin in the burner and the faint creak of the floorboards beneath her. "You said that power would be mine. You said I would reign." From the darkened corner of the room, something shifted. The air folded inward. A shadow stepped forward, not fast, not slow, its shape morphing with each breath. First a tall man in a crown of thorns, then a long-limbed beast with hands too large, then something made of smoke and bloody teeth. Its eyes, however, never changed, dark, soulless, endless.
"You promised devotion.
"I gave you blood, offerings, obedience."
You gave me crumbs."
The figure stepped closer. The altar flame bent sideways, quivering as if from wind, though no windows were open. Alexa's breath hitched. Celeste, she's just louder, not stronger. The people are drawn to a show, that's all it was. The spirit's laugh was low, dry, amused.
She is chosen. You are... No, we have a contract, but contracts expire.
The masks on the wall rattled in their hooks. You need me to stay anchored in this plane. Silence fell, thick as molasses. Alexa reached for the silver goblet on the altar and lifted it with both hands, presenting it to the shadow like a supplicant to a king. I'll feed you, I'll give you what she won't. Just tell me what you need. The spirit leaned closer, its form fractured, beast, man, shadow, smoke, its mouth opened, jagged rows exposed.
Next dark moon, bring me what lives and shines, something innocent. Something warm.
Alexa's skin crawled, but she nodded. The figure melted backward, vanishing into a corner where light could not reach. The altar flame righted itself. The scent of sulfur curled faintly in the air. Alexa sat down hard on the floor, pulse thudding in her throat. She wouldn't lose. She couldn't. Not to Sabina's granddaughter, not to the old ways that had once left her outside the circle. If the ancestors chose Celeste, then she'd find something older, something hungrier, and feed it, whatever the cost, to be continued. Thank you for joining us in this next chapter of Ashes at the Crossroads, Part 3. If Celeste's defiance, Alexa's descent, and the power of the ancestors stirred something in you, like this video to show your support. Share it with friends who crave stories where the spirit world speaks and every choice echoes beyond the veil. Subscribe to Blue Fae Press and stay rooted in this unfolding world of shadow, legacy, and rising power. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you felt, what you fear, and who you believe will rise or fall when the veil tears open.